one of the biggest problems we've encountered in politics over the last several years is this idea of purity tests, in that even if there was a crucial issue that there was agreement on, because there is a definite disagreement on another, that we simply cannot break bread with that person. And we have to get out of that mindset. It's going to end us if we don't. The individualism, in many ways, finds its way into all of these situations. But this conversation that took place, I believe, 2 nights ago between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, which I think was an interview, but it kind of morphed into a debate. And of course, it settled on Israel in a very big way. So here's what happened between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. Israel is controlling our foreign policy, and even fucking dumbasses know this at this point. Does everybody know how much money Ted Cruz has taken from the Israel lobby? That we know of on paper, just under $2 million.
You said, I'm asking you.
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's.
You're lucky that's all he called you. He should have called you a lot worse. Tel Aviv Ted. There's plenty of worse nicknames.
See,
the last election, Israel spent over 250, the Israel lobby, and again, this is only on paper. Israel spent over $250 million on the election cycle. And you're telling me that there isn't a significant amount of control that comes from that? We all know that it does. And they decided that they were going to kick a couple of members of Congress out that were not in lockstep with the Israel lobby's narrative, Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman. Why would that be a main goal of you getting into Congress, is the defense of a foreign nation? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? That has to be the big question here. Why would anybody, I mean, just put any other country on the marquee, any other one. It is my duty to defend the nation of the Congo. Oh, I got a better one. Do you see how this country reacts to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar when she says anything positive about the ravaged country of Somalia that she comes from? They want to throw her in a burning pit. And that's just one congressional representative talking about the material conditions of the nation she comes from and how bad they are and how we should try to do what we can to help them. But nope. That's grounds for public hanging as far as people are concerned. But when it comes to Israel, get on your knees, baby, and pucker up. Well, you look like a clown to begin with, so you might as well laugh like one while you're at it. You know, they've done surveys amongst the elected senators. Of course, they don't put their names on it. They're just given an opportunity off the record to share their sentiments about their fellow elected officials on the Hill. The most hated senator among senators is Ted Cruz by like a 90% margin. Everybody hates him. And it's not that they hate him because he's an asshole or because he can't get along with others. It's because he's a two-faced fuck. Backstabber, slick as grease oil. He wears it on his face. You can't trust him as far as you could throw him. He will lie for $1 or $1,000,000. And he is completely content to walk that line for the Israel lobby. But you know what? I'm glad he did. Because all this interview is doing is exposing, it's completely exposing the utter hypocrisy of anyone who comes to Israel's defense. So you want to topple a country with 92 million people, knowing full well that if you bring regime change, or at least attempt it, I shouldn't say you're going to bring it, because it's actually not that likely, but even if it was, he wants to bring regime change to a country with 92 million people. That's almost a third of our population. Could you imagine how ravaged those people would end up being? I mean, we already seen what we've done to Gaza, and that's 2 million people. Can you imagine what'll happen if it's over 90? But what the fuck does he care? He's a U.S. senator who is basically guaranteed re-election every 6 years. Ted Cruz can sit in that fucking seat for as long as Mitch McConnell has sat in his, for as long as Chuck Schumer is sitting in his. That's the truth. Ted Cruz, I tell you, he really loves being a senator. He loves that power. He loves that prestige. He can't get enough of it. So what ostensibly Tucker is implying here is you do understand how many lives will be either ruined or ended as a result of your malfeasance in foreign policy decision-making. Ted's like, no big deal. Where's my check?
Okay.
What's actually very interesting about this, and you see a lot of the, let's just say, people that don't like educated people because they're not educated in the social media chats, trying to give Tucker a hard time because he thinks you should be educated about the decisions you're making when it comes to political choices. Ooh, what the hell is the point of knowing how many people live in Iran? Hey, do you know the meaning of this, that, and that? The irrational thought process. This is what happens with the dumbing down of our nation. Do you know that China spends as much on education as we spend on our military? Did you know that? And yet we embrace ignorance in our country. And Ted Cruz, who was a U.S. senator, who went to Ivy League institutions, doesn't matter. He's still proving that it isn't necessarily what you know, it's who you know. Case in point.
Senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know
claims
anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
Oh, so now we're going back to it's Iran that's murdering Donald Trump. See, that's what was that. I totally missed that. I didn't realize that was the order of the day, Mr. Cruz. Isn't his name Carlos or something? I forgot what his first name really is. It would also speak to this idea, and there is no question that the powers that be tried to assassinate Trump. They absolutely did. He just turned his head ever so slightly, and that's why he's alive. But they would have you believe, that a gunman sitting on a rooftop with a rifle and a scope that they spotted several minutes before he was actually in position to fire, that person somehow was connected to the Iranians. I know it sounds insane that anyone would buy that bullshit, but they're counting on this idea that somehow that's true. Because if it's coming from their side, then that means it's okay. Iran tried to murder him. They don't know what else to do to try to sell this war bullshit. They really don't. because they know the country's not with us. They were in a situation after Pearl Harbor. They could sell it. They were in a situation after the Gulf of Tonkin. They could sell it. They were in a situation with the incubator babies. They could sell it. They had 9/11. They could sell it. But then they couldn't sell it anymore. And little by little, the erosion of belief in this system has completely dissipated. So now when they talk, no one believes them. And they shouldn't. Because the only people online that are defending Ted Cruz are people that are either being paid to or they're ideologically aligned with genocidal Israel.
On right now, people are listening.
Okay.
Yeah, people are listening. I know I'm listening, and I don't like what I'm hearing. And I don't know who in the hell else would be liking what they're hearing either. And that should scare people. I don't want people to be scared. I just want people to understand that this is our situation. This situation, you can cut the tension with a fucking knife. And as I said, being here in America, we are extremely privileged. Extremely privileged. Because for the most part, we don't have to worry about death from above raining down upon us. But at any moment, if you're in the Middle East, it could happen. And even joking about it is insane. But I did want to point out that this one piece of stupidity about Ted Cruz that cannot be ignored. And that should not even be up for dispute. That's the point. Even countries that we perceive to be our enemy, they are living such more prosperous lives than we are. Russia and China have universal health care. We don't. Russia and China invest in their country's education. We don't. They invest legitimately in their country's infrastructure. Have you seen the high-speed rail system in China? Have you seen how well educated those kids are? What the fuck do we invest in? We put $1 trillion into endless war. Have you had it? Oh, you don't care about America. Anyone with a fucking brain and a pair of eyeballs can see it. Ted Cruz cares about Ted Cruz. He does not care about this country. And everyone wants to point out how he fled to Cancun when shit hit the fan in Texas. But the man just does not care at all. You're questioning my loyalty to America? You have no loyalty to America if you are supported by AIPAC, and you are supported in a big fucking way by them. Tucker's right. He was right from the start. He was right throughout. He absolutely nailed it. And in case you are wondering whether Ted Cruz is actually just a completely rehearsed idiot and just does not have any semblance of individual thought, that everything he does is calculated. This is what he said regarding, of all places, Cuba, where his father's from.
My father was imprisoned and tortured in Cuba. I hate communists. It was actually Batista that tortured my dad.
So what you're admitting is that your father was tortured by an ultra-capitalist, not a communist. And I am not here to defend Castro in any way. But if you are going to say that I hate communism, my father was tortured by a super capitalist, but communism is really what gets me going. He's just a slime ball. Like a real slime ball. AIPAC wasted no time in treating this so-called debate as to, and again, it wasn't supposed to be a debate. It was supposed to be an interview. It turned into a debate. And AIPAC just couldn't help themselves, saying, thank you, Ted Cruz, for being a champion of the U.S.-Israel relationship, advancing policies that strengthen our mutually beneficial alliance with Israel. AIPAC and our 5 million grassroots members, can you 5 million? Grassroots members from across the United States are proud to stand with pro-Israel leaders like you. And that they are. Colin, please pull up the Tucker Carlson tweet. You've got that one handy. This is how this all started. I sent it to you, Colin. I'll send it again. Hang on a minute. All right, so load this one up if you can, please. Just check your text. Is that it? Good. From Tucker Carlson. The real divide isn't between people who support Israel and people who support Iran or the Palestinians. The real divide is between those who casually encourage violence and those who seek to prevent it, between warmongers and peacemakers. Who are the warmongers? They would include anyone who's calling Donald Trump today to demand airstrikes and other direct U.S. military involvement in a war with Iran. On that list, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Rupert Murdoch, Ike Perlmutter, and Miriam Adelson. At some point, they will have to all answer for this, but you should know their names now. That took a lot of courage. And I'm sure he has caught a hell of a lot of heat for actually putting their names out there. And apparently Mark Levin, the little Napoleon fuck that he is, really was unhappy with him doing that. Like really lost his mind regarding that. And I can't say I'm surprised. But I think it's important that people understand why Iran is not on board with our country and hasn't been forever. Why is that? Colin, the Iran tweet from Monroe Money, please. This is the reason why. Iran has no Rothschild central bank, no IMF loans, the region's deepest oil reserves. It supplies 87% of China's crude oil, controls the Strait of Hormuz, through which 1.2 trillion flows annually, and trades outside the US dollar. That's why we want it broken. That's correct. You know what? Sometimes people make amends for their mistakes. Tucker is one of the very rare individuals who has a major platform and admitted that he was wrong about Iraq and has been issuing penance ever since. He is trying to do good, and I give him credit for doing it. Perhaps he can be forgiven but not forgotten for his role that he played. Oh, he's owned up to it, Manwith. He has. You can look it up. He said time and again, I was dead wrong about Iraq. That, to me, I think is that's a key ingredient. Tucker did an amazing job. And Ted Cruz continues to help sink the Zionist movement. So thank you, Ted. You did a great job.